The skies above New York City erupted in a dazzling display of swerving lights and crackling energy. Citizens stopped in their tracks, mouths agape, as an enormous spacecraft materialized above the iconic skyline. Its sleek, iridescent hull shimmered with an otherworldly glow, casting prismatic reflections across the glass and steel canyons below. In Times Square, the usual cacophony of traffic and chatter gave way to a stunned silence. Thousands of eyes gazed upward, united in awe and trepidation. The giant screens that typically blaze with advertisements now displayed emergency broadcasts, their urgent messages barely registering with the transfixed crowd. Dr. Ethan Carter stood among them, his heart racing with a potent mixture of fear and exhilaration. As one of Earth's leading xenobiologists, he had spent his entire career theorizing about extraterrestrial life. Now the moment of truth had arrived, and it was more spectacular than he could have ever imagined. The alien vessel hovered motionless for what felt like an eternity. Then, with a low, resonant hum that vibrated through the bones of every person in the city, it began to descend. A brilliant beam of light shot down from its underside, touching down in Central Park. Ethan's phone buzzed frantically in his pocket. He tore his eyes away from the sky long enough to see a flurry of messages from his colleagues at the United Nations. As part of the newly formed First Contact Task Force, his presence was urgently required. With a final glance at the otherworldly ship, Ethan sprinted towards the nearest subway station, his mind reeling with the implications of what was unfolding. Humanity was about to change forever, and he was going to be at the forefront of it all. Hours later, Ethan found himself standing beside world leaders and military officials as they cautiously approached the alien vessel. The ship had touched down in the Great Lawn, its massive form dwarfing the surrounding trees and buildings. A shimmering force field surrounded the craft, keeping the growing crowd of onlookers at bay. Ethan's scientific mind raced with questions about its composition and function, but those thoughts were quickly pushed aside as a section of the ship's hull began to ripple and part. From the opening emerged a group of beings unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. They were tall and slender, with bodies that seemed to shimmer and shift like liquid mercury. Their faces were oddly featureless, save for large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed with an inner light. One of the aliens stepped forward, its form solidifying into a more humanoid shape. When it spoke, the sound seemed to bypass their ears entirely, resonating directly in their minds. "People of Earth," the alien's thoughts echoed, "we come seeking sanctuary. Our world is dying, and we humbly request your aid and hospitality." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled humans. Ethan felt a surge of empathy for these beings, coupled with an intense curiosity about their plight and their incredible abilities. In the days that followed, the world was thrown into a frenzy of diplomatic negotiations and scientific exchange. The aliens, who called themselves the Luminari, shared their story with humanity. Their home planet, Lumina, was being devoured by an expanding star, forcing them to seek refuge among the stars. Ethan found himself working around the clock, helping to establish protocols for interspecies communication and cultural exchange. The Luminari's ability to shape-shift and communicate telepathically presented unique challenges and opportunities for integration into human society. As the weeks passed, a plan began to take shape. The world's nations agreed to accept the Luminari refugees, dispersing them across the globe in a massive resettlement program. In exchange, the aliens offered to share their advanced technology, particularly in the fields of energy production and environmental restoration. Ethan was tasked with overseeing a pilot program that would pair Luminari individuals with human hosts, allowing for more intimate cultural exchange and adaptation. It was a monumental responsibility, one that filled him with both excitement and trepidation. On the day the program was set to begin, Ethan paced nervously in his apartment. His spacious loft in Brooklyn had been carefully prepared to accommodate his alien guest. He had spent hours researching Luminari physiology and culture, determined to make his home as welcoming as possible. A soft chime from his communication device alerted him to his guest's arrival. Taking a deep breath, Ethan opened the door. Standing before him was a luminary in its default humanoid form. Ethan reminded himself, as the luminary had adopted human gender pronouns for convenience, was slightly taller than him, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl. Her eyes, a swirling galaxy of colors, met his with an intensity that made him catch his breath. "Greetings, Dr. Carter," the luminary said, her thoughts a gentle whisper in his mind. "I am Zira. I am honored to be your guest and assistant." Ethan smiled, extending his hand in welcome. "The honor is mine, Zira. Please come in." As Zira glided into the apartment, her form rippled slightly, adjusting to the new environment. Ethan watched in fascination as her features became more defined, taking on a more human-like appearance while still retaining an otherworldly beauty. "Your home is most interesting," Zira observed, her gaze roaming over the eclectic mix of scientific equipment and artistic decor that filled the loft. "I look forward to learning about human dwellings and customs." Ethan nodded, gesturing towards the living area. "I'm eager to learn about your culture as well. Please make yourself comfortable. Would you like something to drink?" I wasn't sure what luminary prefer, so I prepared a variety of options. Zira's eyes crinkled in what Ethan interpreted as amusement. "Water will suffice, thank you. Our bodies can adapt to process most substances, but simplicity is often best when acclimating to a new environment." As they settled onto the couch, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at the surreal nature of the situation. Here he was, casually conversing with an alien being in his living room. It was the culmination of a lifelong dream, yet it felt surprisingly natural. "So, Zira," Ethan began, his scientific curiosity bubbling to the surface, "I'd love to hear more about your shape-shifting abilities. How does it work on a biological level?" Zira's form shimmered slightly, as if in response to his question. "Our bodies are composed of a highly advanced form of programmable matter," she explained. "We can rearrange our molecular structure at will, allowing us to adapt to various environments and assume different forms." Ethan leaned forward, fascinated. "That's incredible. The applications for such technology are mind-boggling. Have you ever considered how it might be used in medical treatments or environmental restoration?" A look of sadness passed over Zira's features. "On Lumina, we used our abilities for many such purposes, but in our haste to advance our civilization, we neglected the health of our planet. It is a mistake we are determined not to repeat here on Earth." The conversation flowed easily between them, touching on topics ranging from alien technology to human culture. Ethan found Zira to be a keen observer and quick learner, her questions about human customs both insightful and occasionally amusing. As the evening wore on, Ethan showed Zira to her room, a converted study that he had outfitted with a variety of textures and materials, unsure of what a luminary might find comfortable. "I hope this will be suitable," he said, suddenly feeling self-conscious about the accommodations. "Please let me know if you need anything adjusted." Zira's eyes glowed warmly as she surveyed the room. "It is more than suitable, Dr. Carter. Your thoughtfulness is appreciated." She turned to him, her form shimmering slightly. "I must confess, I am eager to experience the human custom of sleep. On Lumina, we enter periods of energy conservation, but I understand sleep plays a significant role in human physiology and culture." Ethan chuckled. "It certainly does. Though I warn you, as a scientist, I'm not the best example of healthy sleep habits. Speaking of which, I should probably turn in myself. We have a busy day ahead tomorrow." As he prepared for bed, Ethan's mind whirled with the day's events. The presence of Zira in his home was both exhilarating and slightly unnerving. He was acutely aware of the responsibility he bore, not just as a host, but as a representative of humanity. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, Ethan found sleep elusive. The soft sounds of Zira moving about in the other room reminded him of the extraordinary nature of his new living situation. He was on the cusp of unraveling mysteries about alien biology and culture that had tantalized scientists for centuries. But beyond the scientific implications, Ethan couldn't help but feel a growing sense of connection to Zira. Despite her alien nature, there was something undeniably relatable about her curiosity and her willingness to embrace new experiences. As he finally drifted off to sleep, Ethan's last thoughts were of the adventures that lay ahead. Little did he know that his relationship with Zira would soon challenge his perceptions of humanity, alienness, and the very nature of connection itself. The dawn broke over Brooklyn, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Ethan awoke to the unfamiliar sound of movement in his kitchen. For a moment, he was disoriented, the events of the previous day feeling like a vivid dream. Then reality came rushing back, and with it, a surge of excitement. He quickly dressed and made his way to the kitchen, where he found Zira examining the coffee maker with intense curiosity. Her form was more fluid this morning, her skin shimmering like sunlight on water. "Good morning, Zira," Ethan said, unable to keep the wonder out of his voice. "How was your first night of sleep?" Zira turned to him, her eyes swirling with a mix of colors that Ethan was beginning to associate with excitement. "Good morning, Dr. Carter. Sleep was an interesting experience. I found the state of unconsciousness both disturbing and oddly refreshing. Is this truly how humans spend a third of their lives?" Ethan laughed, moving to prepare the coffee. "More or less, and please call me Ethan. We're going to be living together after all." As the rich aroma of coffee filled the air, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation for the day ahead. With Zira by his side, every moment promised new discoveries and insights. The boundaries between human and alien, host and guest, scientist and subject were already beginning to blur, hinting at the profound changes that lay ahead for both individuals and their respective species. The aliens' awakening. As the weeks passed, Zira's fascination with human culture grew exponentially. She absorbed information like a sponge, her curiosity seemingly boundless. Ethan found himself constantly surprised by her unique perspectives on the most mundane aspects of daily life. One morning, as Ethan prepared for work, Zira watched him with rapt attention. Her iridescent eyes followed his every move as he went through his morning routine. "Ethan," she began, her telepathic voice tinged with curiosity, "I've noticed you engage in this ritual every day. What is the purpose of showering, as you call it?" Ethan paused, toothbrush in hand, realizing he'd never had to explain the concept of personal hygiene to anyone before. "Well, it's to clean ourselves and remove bacteria. Plus, it helps us wake up and feel refreshed." Zira's form shimmered with interest. "Fascinating. Luminari don't accumulate bacteria in the same way. We simply recalibrate our molecular structure to eliminate impurities." As Ethan stepped into the shower, he couldn't help but feel a bit self-conscious knowing Zira was so intrigued by the process. The warm water cascaded over him, and he tried to focus on the day ahead rather than the alien presence in his home. Suddenly, a startled yelp escaped him as he felt an unexpected touch on his back. He whirled around to find Zira standing in the shower with him, her liquid metal form glistening under the spray of water. "Zira," Ethan exclaimed, hastily covering himself. "What are you doing?" The alien's eyes swirled with a mix of confusion and fascination. "I wanted to experience this showering for myself. The sensation of water on my form is exhilarating." Her hand reached out again, this time touching Ethan's arm. "And your skin, it reacts so interestingly to the water and my touch." Ethan's heart raced, a mix of shock, embarrassment, and an unexpected flutter of something else coursing through him. "Zira, I appreciate your curiosity, but this is a very private activity for humans. We don't usually share it with others unless we're intimately involved." Zira's form rippled, taking on a more humanoid shape, though still gleaming like polished chrome. "Intimately involved? I don't understand. Aren't we intimate in our cohabitation and shared pursuit of knowledge?" The scientist in Ethan wanted to explain the nuances of human relationships and privacy, but a more primal part of him was acutely aware of Zira's otherworldly beauty and the strange attraction he felt toward her. "It's complicated," Ethan managed, trying to maintain his composure. Human intimacy involves emotional and physical closeness that goes beyond just living together or working together. Zira's eyes flickered with a new understanding. "I see. Is this why your heart rate has increased and your skin has flushed? Are these signs of human intimacy?" Ethan swallowed hard, realizing he couldn't hide his physiological responses from Zira's perceptive senses. "Yes, they can be. But it's not appropriate for us to explore that kind of relationship. I'm your host, and we're from different species. There are ethical considerations." Despite his words, Ethan couldn't bring himself to step away from Zira. The warmth of the shower and the alien's proximity created a heady atmosphere that made it hard to think clearly. Zira's form shimmered again, her features becoming more defined, almost human-like, yet retaining an ethereal quality. "Ethan, my people believe in the pursuit of knowledge and experience in all its forms. If these feelings of intimacy can foster greater understanding between our species, isn't it worth exploring?" Before Ethan could respond, the bathroom door burst open. Dr. Lydia Chen, Ethan's colleague from the xenobiology department, rushed in, waving a datapad. "Ethan, you won't believe the latest readings from the Luminary's ship. We've discovered—" "Oh," Lydia stopped short, taking in the scene before her. Her eyes widened as she looked from Ethan to Zira and back again. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Water continued to cascade around Ethan and Zira, steam rising in the small bathroom. Lydia stood frozen in the doorway, her mouth agape. Ethan was the first to break the silence. "Lydia, I can explain. This isn't what it looks like." Lydia raised an eyebrow, a mix of shock and amusement playing across her features. "Really? Because it looks like you're taking an interspecies shower with your alien houseguest." Zira, seemingly unperturbed by the intrusion, turned to Lydia with interest. "Dr. Chen, your arrival is most fortuitous. Perhaps you can help clarify the human concepts of intimacy and privacy that Ethan and I were just discussing." Ethan groaned inwardly, realizing the situation had just become infinitely more complicated. He quickly turned off the shower and reached for a towel, trying to salvage what dignity he could. "Lydia, please give us a moment to get decent. We'll meet you in the living room, and I promise I'll explain everything." As Lydia retreated, closing the door behind her, Ethan turned to Zira. "We need to have a serious discussion about boundaries and human customs." Zira's form rippled with what Ethan had come to recognize as contrition. "I apologize if I've caused you distress, Ethan. It was not my intention. I only sought to understand." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his wet hair. "I know, Zira, and it's partly my fault for not being clearer about certain aspects of human behavior. Let's get dressed and then we can all talk about this incident." As they prepared to face Lydia and the inevitable awkward conversation ahead, Ethan couldn't shake the lingering sensation of Zira's touch on his skin. Despite the embarrassment and potential professional complications, a part of him thrilled at the connection he felt with the alien being. He realized that in his quest to understand the Luminary, he'd overlooked the profound effect their presence might have on human emotions and relationships. The line between scientific curiosity and personal feelings was blurring, and Ethan wasn't sure he was prepared for where it might lead. With a deep breath, he opened the bathroom door, ready to face the consequences of this unexpected turn of events. Little did he know, this incident would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge not only his own perceptions, but the very foundations of human-alien relations. Forbidden frontiers. The tension in Ethan's living room was palpable as he, Zira, and Lydia sat in uncomfortable silence. Ethan, now fully dressed but still slightly damp, cleared his throat. "Lydia, I know this looks unorthodox, but I assure you, it's not what you think." Lydia leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with a mix of scientific curiosity and mischief. "Oh, and what exactly do I think, Dr. Carter?" That you're conducting some very hands-on xenobiological research. Zera, who had morphed into a more clothed, human-like form, tilted her head. Is that not what we're doing, Ethan? Exploring the boundaries of interspecies interaction. Ethan groaned, burying his face in his hands. This is not how I envisioned this project going. Lydia's expression softened. Ethan, relax. I'm not here to judge. In fact, this incident might be exactly what our research needs. Both Ethan and Zera looked at her in surprise. What do you mean? Ethan asked cautiously. Lydia pulled out her data pad, her excitement palpable. The readings I mentioned earlier, they're off the charts. The Luminary ship is emitting energy signatures unlike anything we've ever seen. And now, witnessing this interaction between you and Zera, I have a theory. She turned to Zera. Your people communicate telepathically, correct? And your bodies are essentially programmable matter. Zera nodded, her form shimmering slightly. That's correct. We can attune ourselves to various energy frequencies, allowing us to interact with our environment and each other on a fundamental level. Lydia's eyes lit up. Exactly. What if the key to unlocking the Luminaries' advanced technology lies not in studying their machines, but in understanding their capacity for connection? Connection with each other, their environment, and now with us. Ethan furrowed his brow, intrigued despite his lingering embarrassment. You think the shower incident was the first true moment of human luminary resonance? Lydia finished excitedly. Think about it. Water is an excellent conductor of energy. Zera's natural form is highly conductive, and human skin, when wet, becomes more electrically conductive. You two literally created a circuit of interspecies energy exchange. Zera's eyes swirled with fascination. This aligns with our understanding of universal energy flow. On Lumina, we would often commune in pools of liquid mercury to enhance our collective consciousness. Ethan's scientific mind raced with the implications. So you're suggesting that to truly understand and harness luminary technology, we need to, what? Take group showers with them. Lydia laughed. Not exactly. But we need to explore ways to facilitate deeper connections between our species. The cultural exchange program is a good start, but we need to push further. Absolutely not, Ethan said firmly. We can't ask humans or Luminari to engage in such intimate interactions. It's unethical and potentially dangerous. Zera placed a gentle hand on Ethan's arm, sending a small shiver through him. Ethan, among my people, the sharing of energy and consciousness is considered the highest form of communication and understanding. If humans are willing, this could be a beautiful way to bridge our cultures. Ethan looked at Zera, feeling the now familiar pull of attraction mixed with scientific curiosity. He turned to Lydia. Even if we wanted to pursue this, how would we even begin to propose such a radical approach to the ethics committee? Lydia grinned mischievously. Who says we need to tell them everything? We can start small, controlled experiments. Volunteer pairs of humans and Luminari, exploring non-invasive ways to enhance that energy resonance. And if it goes wrong? Ethan challenged. Then we'll have advanced our understanding of interspecies relations, even if it's not in the way we expected, Lydia countered. Ethan, think of the potential breakthroughs. Clean energy, revolutionary medical treatments, maybe even unlocking the secrets of consciousness itself. Ethan sat back, his mind whirling with possibilities and potential pitfalls. He looked at Zera, who gazed back at him with those mesmerizing, swirling eyes. What do you think, Zera? Is this something your people would be open to? Zera's form shimmered with what Ethan had come to recognize as excitement. I believe many Luminari would be honored to participate in such an exchange. We came to Earth seeking not just refuge, but a chance to grow and evolve alongside humanity. This could be the key to a truly symbiotic relationship between our species. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling as though he stood on the precipice of something monumental. All right, he said finally, let's do it. But we start small, and at the first sign of trouble, we pull the plug. Agreed? Lydia nodded enthusiastically, already tapping away at her data pad. Agreed. I'll start drawing up protocols for initial trials. We'll need to select participants carefully, establish baseline readings, create controlled environments. As Lydia rattled off her plans, Ethan turned to Zira. Are you sure about this? It could change everything between our people. Zira's eyes swirled with a depth of emotion Ethan was only beginning to understand. Change is the nature of the universe, Ethan. The question is, are you ready to embrace it? In that moment, looking into Zira's otherworldly eyes, Ethan realized he was already changing, already embracing something he didn't fully understand. The boundaries between scientist and subject, human and alien, were blurring in ways he never anticipated. As the trio began to plan their audacious experiment, none of them could have predicted the profound impact it would have, not just on human-luminary relations, but on the very fabric of both societies. They stood on the brink of a revolution in interspecies understanding, one that would challenge every preconception about intimacy, consciousness, and the nature of existence itself. The story of the curious alien maid and the human scientist was about to become legend, a tale that would echo across the stars and reshape the destiny of two worlds. Cosmic Convergence. The secret project, codenamed Nebula Nexus, began in earnest. Ethan, Lydia, and Zira worked tirelessly to set up a secure facility on the outskirts of the city, away from prying eyes. They handpicked a small group of open-minded human volunteers and willing luminary participants, each sworn to absolute secrecy. As the first day of trials approached, Ethan found himself both exhilarated and terrified. The potential for groundbreaking discovery was matched only by the risk of catastrophic failure. Are you ready for this? Lydia asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement as they stood before the entrance to the facility. Ethan took a deep breath, glancing at Zira, who shimmered with anticipation beside him. As ready as I'll ever be to potentially rewrite the laws of physics and interspecies relations. They entered the main chamber, a large, circular room dominated by a central platform surrounded by water. The walls were lined with advanced sensors and holographic displays, all designed to capture every nuance of the impending interactions. The human volunteers, a diverse group of scientists, artists, and spiritual seekers, chatted nervously amongst themselves. The luminary participants, their forms a dazzling array of colors and patterns, stood in quiet contemplation. Ethan stepped forward to address the group. Thank you all for your courage and your trust. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. We're not just pushing the boundaries of science, we're reaching across the cosmic divide to touch the very essence of another species. He paused, looking each participant in the eye. If at any point you feel uncomfortable or wish to stop, simply say the word. Your safety and well-being are our top priority. Zira moved to stand beside him, her form rippling with a soothing blue light. Remember, she added, her thoughts reaching out to all present, this is not about losing yourself, but about finding a greater connection to the universe and each other. With a nod from Ethan, the first pair stepped onto the platform. Dr. Amelia Zao, a quantum physicist, and Laia, a luminary elder, faced each other nervously. Just relax and open your minds to each other, Lydia instructed from her control station. We'll start with a low-level energy field to help facilitate the connection. As the field activated, a soft hum filled the air. Amelia gasped as she felt the first tendrils of Laia's consciousness brush against her mind. Laia's form began to shimmer and expand, enveloping Amelia in a cocoon of swirling light. The senses around the room went wild, recording unprecedented levels of quantum entanglement and neural synchronization. Ethan and Lydia watched in awe as the energy signatures of human and luminary began to merge and dance in complex patterns across their screens. Suddenly, Amelia cried out, not in pain, but in wonder. I can see everything. The universe, it's all connected, all one. Laura's thoughts echoed through the chamber, filled with equal parts joy and astonishment. Yes, young one, We are stardust, made conscious, and reunited across the vastness of space and time. As the session ended, Amelia stumbled off the platform, tears streaming down her face. It was indescribable, she whispered, like touching the face of God. Lawyer's form coalesced into a humanoid shape, eyes swirling with deep emotion. In all my centuries, I have never experienced such profound communion. Your species holds wonders we never imagined. One by one, the other pairs took their turns on the platform. Each experience was unique, but all reported a sense of expanded consciousness and deep, universal connection. Artists spoke of seeing colors beyond the visible spectrum, while scientists babbled excitedly about intuiting solutions to complex theoretical problems. As the day wore on, the energy in the room became almost palpable. The boundaries between human and luminary seemed to blur, with participants from both species mingling freely, sharing insights and expressions of awe. Ethan watched it all with a growing sense of wonder and unease. They were tapping into something profound, something that could change the course of both human and luminary civilization. But at what cost? His thoughts were interrupted by Zira's gentle touch on his arm. "Ethan," she said, her eyes swirling with an intensity he'd never seen before, "it's our turn." Ethan's heart raced as he realized the implication. He had been so focused on overseeing the experiment that he hadn't considered participating himself. "Zira, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this." Zira's form shimmered with what he now recognized as affection. "You are. We've come this far together. Don't you want to see where it leads?" Taking a deep breath, Ethan nodded. They stepped onto the platform together, facing each other as the energy field hummed to life around them. The moment their minds touched, Ethan felt as though he was falling into an ocean of stars. Zira's consciousness enveloped him, vast and ancient and utterly alien, yet somehow familiar. He saw the history of her people, felt the loss of their homeworld, and understood their journey across the cosmos in a way no human ever had before. In turn, he felt Zira exploring the depths of his mind, marveling at the complexity of human emotion, the richness of their cultural tapestry, and the indomitable spirit that drove them to reach for the stars. As their connection deepened, Ethan became aware of something else, something greater than either of them. It was as if the universe itself was conscious, and they were tapping into its vast, incomprehensible mind. Visions of possible futures flashed before them. They saw humanity and the luminary spreading across the galaxy together, sharing knowledge and resources, healing wounded planets, and unlocking the secrets of creation itself. But they also glimpsed darker possibilities. The power they were unleashing used for domination, the merging of consciousness leading to loss of individual identity, the fundamental nature of both species irrevocably altered. With a gasp, Ethan pulled back, breaking the connection. He found himself on his knees on the platform, Zira's arms around him steadying him. The room was silent, all eyes fixed on them. "Ethan," Lydia's voice came through, tinged with concern. "Are you all right? The readings we got from your session were unprecedented." Ethan looked up at Zira, seeing his own mix of awe and fear reflected in her swirling eyes. "We're fine," he managed to say. "But I think we might have just changed everything." As the implications of what they'd experienced began to sink in, Ethan realized they stood at a crossroads, not just for their two species, but possibly for the entire cosmos. The power to reshape reality itself was within their grasp, but with it came a responsibility greater than anything humanity had ever faced. The curious touch that had started it all had led them to the brink of a new era, one that would redefine the very nature of existence. As Ethan looked around at the humans and luminary gathered in the chamber, he knew that their real journey was only just beginning. The universe held its breath, waiting to see what this unlikely alliance of cosmic explorers would do next. Quantum entanglement of hearts. The aftermath of the Nebula Nexus experiment left both humans and luminary reeling. As news of the breakthrough spread through whispered conversations and encrypted messages, the world began to change in subtle yet profound ways. Ethan found himself at the center of a storm, his mind still reeling from the cosmic connection he had shared with Zira. He sat in his apartment, staring out at the New York skyline, which now seemed small and insignificant compared to the vastness he had glimpsed. A soft shimmer announced Zira's presence. "Your thoughts have troubled, Ethan," she said, her form coalescing beside him. He turned to her, struck anew by her alien beauty. "How can they not be? We've opened a door that can never be closed, Zira. The power we've unleashed, it could reshape reality itself." Zira's eyes swirled with a mix of empathy and excitement. "Yes, and isn't that wonderful? Think of the possibilities, Ethan. We could heal worlds, unlock the secrets of the cosmos, evolve beyond our current limitations. Or we could destroy everything," Ethan countered. "You saw the visions too. The potential for misuse, for losing ourselves entirely." Before Zira could respond, Ethan's communication device buzzed urgently. It was Lydia, her face pale and drawn on the holographic display. "Ethan, we have a situation. Some of the participants, they're experiencing side effects, spontaneous telepathy, matter manipulation, and there are rumors that both our governments know about the project." Ethan's blood ran cold. "How bad is it?" Lydia's voice dropped to a whisper. "Bad enough that there's talk of shutting us down, maybe even quarantining everyone involved. We need to move fast." As Ethan and Zira raced to the secret facility, the city around them seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. They passed a street artist whose paintings shimmered and moved, images shifting in impossible ways. In a park, a group of children laughed as they floated inches above the ground, their parents watching in a mix of awe and fear. At the facility, chaos reigned. Some of the human participants were huddled in corners, overwhelmed by their newfound abilities to sense thoughts and emotions. Others were excitedly experimenting, their bodies flickering between solid and ethereal states. The luminari were no less affected. Many had taken on hybrid forms, their usual mercurial bodies now interwoven with elements that seemed distinctly human, flashes of skin, strands of hair, even hints of human facial features. Amelia Zao, the quantum physicist from the first trial, approached them. Her eyes glowed with an inner light, and equations floated in the air around her head. "Ethan, Zira, thank goodness you're here. I've made a discovery. The connection we established, it's not just psychological or energetic. We've created a quantum entanglement between our species on a fundamental level." Ethan's scientific mind raced to keep up. "What are you saying, Amelia?" She grinned, her excitement palpable. "I'm saying that humanity and the luminari are becoming one. Our consciousness, our very beings, are merging on a quantum scale, and it's spreading far beyond just the participants in this room." The implications hit Ethan like a thunderbolt. This wasn't just about individuals gaining new abilities. The very fabric of both species was transforming, blending into something entirely new. Zira's form shimmered with intense emotion. "This is beyond anything we could have imagined. It's beautiful, but also terrifying." Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the facility. Lydia's voice came over the intercom, panic evident in her tone. "We've got company. Military forces, both human and luminary. They're demanding we surrender and submit to quarantine." Ethan looked around at the scared and confused faces of the participants. He knew they couldn't let this power fall into the hands of those who might misuse it, but they also couldn't run forever. In that moment of crisis, Ethan felt a surge of something greater than himself. The cosmic consciousness he had touched during his connection with Zira seemed to flow through him. "Everyone, listen to me," he called out, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "What we started here can't be stopped or contained. It's bigger than any one of us, bigger than our individual species. We need to show the world that this merger isn't something to be feared, but embraced." Zira moved to stand beside him, her form pulsing with radiant energy. "Ethan's right. We are the bridge between two worlds, the harbingers of a new era of cosmic unity." As if guided by an invisible force, the humans and Luminari in the room began to join hands, forming a circle. Ethan and Zira stood at its center, their fingers intertwined. "Focus on the connection," Ethan instructed. "Feel the boundaries between us dissolve. We are stardust. We are cosmic energy. We are one." As the military forces burst into the room, weapons raised, they were met with an astonishing sight. The circle of humans and Luminari had become a swirling vortex of light and energy, pulsing with the rhythm of the universe itself. From within this cosmic mandala, Ethan and Zira's voices rang out in perfect unison, speaking to the hearts and minds of all present. "We are the future," they proclaimed. "Not human, not Luminari, but something greater. We offer not conflict, but harmony. Not fear, but understanding. Join us in this cosmic dance, and together we will reshape the stars themselves." The soldiers lowered their weapons, awestruck. Some fell to their knees, overcome by the waves of love and unity emanating from the group. Others stepped forward, hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence, to join the circle. As the energy field expanded, enveloping the entire facility and beyond, Ethan and Zira shared a look of profound understanding. Their journey had started with a curious touch in a shower, and now it had led to the birth of a new cosmic consciousness. The curious alien Maid and the human scientist had become the catalysts for the next stage of evolution, their love story intertwined with the fate of two species and the universe itself. As the boundaries between human and Luminari, between matter and energy, between past and future blurred and dissolved, one thing became clear: the greatest adventure in the history of both their worlds was just beginning. The cosmos watched and waited, ready to embrace its newly awakened children.